Hey there, warriors of wisdom and seekers of the ancient ways. Gather round. Today, we step into the crossroads of blade and breath, where warrior-shamans, the rare breed who command both spirit and steel, walk across time and continents. This isn't myth-making. This is the real deal, pulled from battlefield records, tribal rites, sacred texts, anthropology, and the timeless wisdom of strategists like Sun Tzu. These weren't just fighters, and they weren't just mystics. They were both. Men who prayed, fasted, and bled, who spoke to gods and went to war, who carried chants into combat and returned with scars carved not only into their bodies, but their souls. Let's dive into their world. Because like the old general said, know the enemy and know yourself, and you need not fear the result of 100 battles. We start on the Great Plains of North America, Lakota country. The year is 1840. A boy is born to the Oglala band of the Lakota Sioux. He will grow to become a name feared by generals and whispered in reverence by his people, Crazy Horse. But Crazy Horse wasn't just a war leader. He was a vision seeker, shaped by a spiritual system that saw no separation between the sacred and the martial. In Lakota culture, a warrior did not become powerful by brute strength alone. Power came from Wakang Thanka, the great mystery, and to gain it, one had to seek vision. As a boy, Crazy Horse underwent Hamblechea, a vision quest. He isolated himself for days without food or water on a remote peak, seeking guidance. In that trance-like state, he saw himself riding into battle untouched by bullets, his body painted in lightning and dust, his hair unbraided, his face expressionless. That vision wasn't interpreted as metaphor, it was destiny. His people believed he'd been chosen. This shaped his battle style, fluid, elusive, often riding headlong into enemy fire. In battles like the Fetterman Massacre and Little Bighorn, soldiers couldn't track or hit him. He wasn't just a tactician. He was moving with divine guidance, embodying spiritual invincibility. His father was a medicine man, and Crazy Horse carried that lineage, honoring it not in temples, but on the battlefield. His life, his death, and even the secrecy of his burial reflect a man who stood at the threshold between worlds. Now pivot across the Atlantic to ancient Ireland. Enter Cuchulainn, the Hound of Ulster. While his tale is mythic, it carries echoes of an older Indo-European warrior archetype, one trained in weapons and in altered states of consciousness. Cuchulainn is said to have undergone the Rhea Strad, the warp spasm. In combat, his body would twist and contort, his hair would shoot sparks, one eye would sink while the other bulged. His enemies saw a monstrous figure, more beast than man. Now, is that literal? Likely not. But symbolically, it reflects a berserk-like trance state where ordinary cognition was overridden by focused, battle-induced madness. He trained under Skathak, a warrior seer from the Isle of Skye. Her teachings weren't just physical. She bestowed secret knowledge, tested his endurance, and initiated him into a deeper understanding of strength, one that transcended muscle and steel. While Cuchulainn may be myth, the tradition behind him is not. Celtic cultures believed in imbus forosnai, illumination that enlightens, a state of inspired wisdom. Warriors weren't mindless killers. They were vessels of ancestral memory and divine wrath. Now head south, into the heart of Mesoamerica, to the towering temples and obsidian blades of the Aztec Empire. Here, warfare and religion weren't just linked, they were inseparable. The state didn't just support the priesthood, the state was a priesthood, and at its core were elite warrior societies like the Eagle and Jaguar warriors, men who were as skilled with ritual as they were with the Macuahuitl. Human sacrifice shocks modern ears, but to the Aztecs, it wasn't savagery, it was sacred duty. Blood was the life force of the cosmos. If the gods had bled to create the world, humans had to return the favor to keep the sun rising. Some warriors acted as priest generals, leading armies by day, performing sacred rites by night. They would capture enemies in battle, then conduct the ritual sacrifice themselves, offering the heart to Huitzilopochtli, god of sun and war. Their armor was symbolic, their chants summoned divine presence, their deaths were offerings. Warfare was sacred theater, and these men were both actors and priests. Sun Tzu said, "The leader is the arbiter of the people's fate." The Aztecs took that literally, placing their fate in the hands of warrior-shamans who ensured cosmic order through conquest and ceremony. Let's go north again, into the misty fjords and shadowed forests of Viking-age Scandinavia. Here, the berserkers and Ulfhednar carved out a fearsome reputation. These were not just warriors. These were chosen men, believed to be possessed by the spirits of bears or wolves. Their name lives on in our language, berserk, to go beyond sanity into raw, unfiltered aggression. The sagas tell of them biting their shields, howling, and frothing at the mouth before battle. They were said to feel no pain, ignore wounds, and enter frenzies that shattered enemy lines. Modern scholars debate their methods. Were they high on fly-agaric mushrooms? Were they using controlled breathwork, drumming, and meditation? Likely, it was ritual preparation, a fusion of psychological conditioning, spiritual belief, and physical stamina. They fasted before combat. They isolated themselves in the woods. They danced and chanted, invoking Odin, the all-father of war and wisdom. In Ynglinga Saga and in accounts of Harald Fairhair's armies, berserkers were described as Odin's shock troops, his living avatars of death and fury. Their madness wasn't random, it was trained, and that made them dangerous, not just to their enemies, but to anyone who misunderstood the thin line between man and beast, between trance and torment. Now shift again, this time to the mountains of feudal Japan. Most samurai followed a strict warrior code, Bushido, the way of the warrior. But some walked a deeper, older path, Shugendo, a mystical tradition blending Shinto animism, esoteric Buddhism, and Taoist alchemy. From this emerged the Yamabushi, mountain ascetics who trained not just in martial arts, but in ritual purification, chanting, and communion with nature spirits. These men climbed sacred peaks barefoot. They meditated under waterfalls. They lived in caves. Their hardships forged not only strong bodies, but disciplined spirits. Some wielded swords, others wielded mantras, but all sought enlightenment through suffering. Figures like Saito Dosan, a warlord said to have studied mystical traditions, embody the overlap. While not all samurai followed this path, the influence of spiritual austerity can be seen in the Zen-infused focus, the acceptance of death, and the reverence for harmony found in classic samurai literature. Sun Tzu again, "He who knows when he can fight, and when he cannot will be victorious." The Yamabushi didn't just know when to fight, they knew when to disappear into the mist. Now we enter Europe and the Middle East, the age of the Crusades and the rise of warrior monks. The Knights Templar weren't shamans, but they belong in this story. Founded to protect pilgrims traveling to Jerusalem, they were the original holy soldiers, monks in chainmail. They took vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, yet commanded vast wealth and powerful armies. Their strength came from devotion. They fasted, they prayed, they marched into battle under sacred relics. Their discipline was unmatched, and their impact stretched far beyond the battlefield, into banking, architecture, and political strategy. They didn't claim divine visions or spirit trances like others on this list, but they brought sacred purpose into the heart of warfare. Their battleground was the Holy Land. Their cause was eternal, and their fall, shrouded in secrecy and executed by political treachery, only deepened their mystique. Let's finish by casting the net wide, because the warrior shaman isn't confined to one region or race. In the Inca Empire, Pacos were priest healers who guided rulers, interpreted omens, and performed rituals to honor Pachamama, the Earth Mother. They didn't fight, but they protected the people spiritually, standing beside kings before battle. The Maya had daykeepers, trained diviners who used the sacred calendar to enter trance states and communicate with gods. They warned of danger. They blessed warriors. They kept time for empires. In Africa, Yoruba kings, Obas, were not just rulers. They were sacred vessels, custodians of both political and divine power. Zulu Sangomas, spiritual healers, guided warriors through rites of passage, advised chiefs, and healed battle wounds with ancestral knowledge. Even Genghis Khan, the ultimate conqueror, kept a shaman at his side, Teb Tengri. It was Teb who claimed visions of Khan's destiny, who declared victory in the stars, and who shaped the policies of one of the greatest empires the world has ever known. So what connects them all? Place. For Crazy Horse, it was the Black Hills. For the Aztecs, Tenochtitlan. For the berserkers, the wild fjords. For the Yamabushi, Mount Koya. These weren't just places. They were spiritual engines, where warriors drew power not from their weapons, but from the land itself. Purpose, victory, healing, protection, transformation. Warrior shamans were the bridge between seen and unseen, walking with one foot in the battlefield and one in the spirit realm. Proof. Some comes from archaeology, runestones, codices, ritual gear, bone altars. But more comes from oral tradition, comparative religion, and cultural memory. Not fantasy, function. A human response to chaos. Forge the body, awaken the spirit. Sun Tzu said, "The art of war is of vital importance to the state." The warrior shaman was the art embodied, not superstition, not legend, a way of surviving and thriving when the world demanded more than steel. So next time you face a battle, whether it's in the weight room, the boardroom, or deep in your own mind, channel a little of that ancient grit. Stand tall, stay sharp, stay sacred, because maybe, just maybe, the warrior shaman still walks in you.